have lunch.
I will buy you a healthy lunch somewhere. How's that?
Any other questions?
Just a comment, thank you, Lori, for everything that you do, and Sodexo's been wonderful to work with, and they've been very cooperative, and we've had a great relationship, so thank you.
All right, this brings us to our next agenda item, which is 8B5, the food service contract with Sodexo.
Yes. Lori is really very, very modest. She needs to take a lot of the credit for I just need to back up to that last item, sorry, for the summer food service program, because when we found out we qualified last year, it was really pretty late in the process. It was spring, and that's just too late to start something for summer. So she said, let's put it on our goals for next year. And boy, she was right there in December, January, February. Okay, let's start with it. So she's the one that's done a lot of the legwork and the application process and creating all the promotional materials. So Lori really deserves a lot of credit for this program. If it fails, it won't be because she hasn't put in the time and the effort to get it to go. Okay, so the food service contract, I addressed it just a little bit briefly. This is a renewal of the current contract. Increase is tied to CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So we're recommending that we approve this contract for next year.
Any questions or comments on this contract for Colleen?
It's a fixed price meal contract, so they bill us for the number of meals they serve at the rate there. $2.35 is what they get per meal. And last year was 2.284 cents.
All right, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the food service contract with Sodexo for fiscal year 2012-2013. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is food service meal prices for fiscal year 2012-2013.
Can we do this at this time of year also? We look at our food service prices. One of the requirements that came into place last year as part of the new act, the Healthy Kids Hungry Free Act, is that we analyze our food service prices and run it through a price calculator to make sure that our fully paid meals are paying their fair share. In other words, that they're not so low that they're being subsidized by the free and reduced meal reimbursements that we get from the federal government. So last year we ended up having to increase a nickel. This year when we ran the calculations, we're gonna have to increase prices by 10 cents. Now I sent you the survey that Lori did, and you can see that the survey is other neighboring districts in the Big Nine and near us. And that's their prices that are listed there are their prices for this year. And at the bottom are our prices for this year. And then in red, what we're proposing for next year. And you'll notice that even our proposed rates are still the lowest of the Big Nine in the neighboring districts. So we run a very efficient program. It's unfortunate that we are required to raise the prices, but we don't have a choice on this.
And just to be clear, Colleen, as you said, there's no choice on this. The consequence of not raising the prices to reflect the cost would be to lose public funding for those free
Right, to
reduced
not be
lunch
in
rates.
compliance, yeah.
To vote no on this would be to say that we're not going to provide a free and reduced lunch program, which is
Right, or get reimbursed for any meals.
just to be clear. Yeah.
And what would that do to our audit if we didn't go up? Would that give us a negative review in our audit?
Well, you'd be, yes, because you'd not be complying with federal law. So that's not something you want in your audit reports.
Right. Yeah, I just want to be clear on that because it's of course
Yes.
very difficult to think about raising lunch prices and as we take this vote, I don't think anybody wants to know. Well, everybody wants to know we're not taking that lightly. Then
Right.
that's understood, but there are some requirements here, and I think you make a great point. We're still at the bottom of the Big Nine in terms of lunch prices, which is a great thing. So, all right. Questions or comments on this item?
Mr. Chair, at the Finance Committee, I voted no on this, and I'll still vote no on this item because of the burden it puts upon the parents.
Can I just ask you, are you then
I know it's
saying we should
required.
violate law? Well, I want to be clear here. You know,
Do
sometimes
I
we
want to
have do
violate
some-
federal law? Yes.
Okay. right,
So,
please.
I believe I commented about this last year, but it still is a mystery to me how a federal law can, even though we're doing apparently a very good job of providing good meals at minimal cost, but we're being forced to raise the rates to satisfy the requirements of a federal law. So
Right.
we're being, in a sense, penalized for doing a good job.
Well, I think there is some rationale for this. Most of the revenue we get in the food service fund for serving meals comes from the federal government. So if they're gonna pay you, they wanna make sure that you're not using that money to subsidize a fully paid lunch. So they're saying, we wanna pay for free meals and we wanna pay for reduced meals, but if you're offering the same lunch to someone who can afford to pay it, then they need to pay the fair value of that meal. Does that make sense? I don't know if that does or not, but what some districts have done is, take that and kind of lump it all together, and so then you can reduce your fully paid meal at the expense of the free and the reduced. I don't know if that makes sense. That's the rationale
Oh,
behind it.
I
And
understand
they're the
there may
ones
be
that-
some rationale, but it strikes me as peculiar that we're being forced into doing something that, by looking at services provided to people, some in need and so on, and it's just another
Yep, it's kind of,
political mystery.
right. It's kind of the one size shoe doesn't really fit everybody because
That's-
we're efficient
I guess
with
that's
it.
my point, is
Others
that
are not.
our district seems to have done, working with our food service provider, seems to be doing a very good job, and yet there is a string attached
That's
from the
right.
federal government that doesn't recognize that and ends up penalizing to a degree or another
Yeah.
some of our citizens. And to me, that makes no sense.
Yep.
But
That's
you're not the ones, and we're not the ones responsible for that. Please write your congressman.
Yeah.
Colleen, could you,
First thing that has mystified you for the federal government?
I'm sorry.
Is that the first thing that has mystified you for the?
Oh, no, not at all. No, it's one of many.
Colleen, could you, since Tom said it, could you compare this with No Child Left Behind?
Or ESEA. ESEA is the same way.
You
It's-
want the
there's-
federal money, you're gonna have to play by their rules.
Yep.
I know.
Well, I think you stated it accurately, when you said that if we don't do this, we end up subsidizing the people who are not eligible for free and reduced lunch. And that's not the intent of the program.
Right. And that's their perspective, is that it's not meant to subsidize someone who can pay the full price for a meal.
Yeah, and I think another thing to be clear on is, the program is quite generous for those who are in need. This is not raising the price on those who are struggling to provide lunch and
Right.
food to their families. If that's the case, they certainly qualify.
Yes.
Additionally to which, any family can bring in cold lunches every single day, as my girls often do. So I think there also is just a realistic need to make sure that the price of the meals that we're charging reflects the cost of the meals, as we are providing a service. And for those families who are in need, we have a program for that, and I think that program does its job quite well.
The free and reduced lunch applications are mailed to every household, usually in August, so people should watch for those. And if they feel that this will be a burden for them, they may qualify for free or reduced lunch, and they should certainly take the time to fill that out and turn it in.
As further encouragement to fill out those free and reduced applications, that helps us with our bottom line with revenue for the school district too, with a compensatory aid. So it is a good thing for parents to fill that out if they feel that they can't afford a lunch.
Any further discussion on this item? All right, at this time then I'll entertain a motion to approve the food service meal prices for fiscal year 2012-2013.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve meal prices for fiscal year 2012-2013. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and do a roll call on this.
Richard Olson,
I will vote no and violate federal law.
Jason Ingber,
Yes.
Deb Davis,
Yes.
Tom Casper,
Somewhat reluctantly, yes.
and I'll vote aye. So it passes 4-1.
I didn't know somewhat reluctantly yes was a vote we could take down. Half of my votes are somewhat reluctantly yes. All right, thank you all.
I apologize for making a political statement.
8B7, Visions for a Learning Contract for fiscal year 2012-2013.
This is a continuation of the literacy consultant that was hired in the district 2 years ago when we started our 5-year literacy initiative. Lisa Brent Fair is the consultant, and she works with all teachers, K through 5 and into the middle school, well, all teachers K through 10 actually. She's paid through using Title I dollars and Title III dollars, so there's nothing out of the general fund. And those two, Title I and Title III, were expected to do professional development, and she provides ongoing embedded professional development without having to send the teachers away, and she provides, like I said, professional development for everyone, not just a few teachers. She's more than just a, as you can see on her contract, she's here for 24 days, but she's kind of a year-long consultant. When she's not here, she's researching, working on curriculum. I called her and talked to her on the phone for like an hour today, so she's continuously there to help all year. So I guess I'm asking that you approve this contract. Like I said, it's a continuation of what was started 2 years ago.
I didn't bring this up at finance, but $22 to $100 a day. I mean, could you explain $2,200 a day? I didn't ask at finance committee, but that
That's
sort
her
of stuck.
going rate, and I have to say, I was pretty amazed or shocked at it originally too, but throughout the year, as I've seen what it costs to send 1 or 2 teachers to a training at maybe not that much per day, but by the time you paid for their sub and you paid for their travel and you spend, and then they come back and you've helped 1 or 2 teachers. This way, she's working with 100 plus, 120 teachers every time she's here, every day. So really, when you look at it that way, it's cost effective, even though it doesn't, it's kind of surprising.
Well, that includes her airfare and all of
That
the
includes
travel
everything.
expenses.
Yes, everything, airfare, hotel, food, rental car,
We
everything.
don't get separate bills for all of those things.
No.
Just to clarify, this was in the budget we've already approved, right? This is not in addition to the budget that
Right.
Colleen is nodding her
Yes.
head, so.
It's actually part of our grant too for
It's-
title funding.
Yeah, it's not in the general fund at all.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
Title I and Title III.
Sure, okay, thank you.
And for clarification, Title I and Title III are not available funds for supporting classroom teachers. And, I shouldn't say it that way. We can't hire classroom teachers with those funds.
No,
Am
we
I
can with
correct?
Title I funds. We have our Title I teachers, and we have increased their time. We will increase their time next year. Right now, it's a confusing. They're all at different rates of some 0.89, some 0.74, some 0.69, and we're making them all 0.74 and giving them an extended contract so that they'll be almost full-time, so that next year they'll be working, right now they work every other Friday, and it's not a real good situation when they're co-teaching and working with, in the classroom, and then every other Friday they're gone. So we will be increasing their time so that we'll have 9.91 Title I teachers.
They're not classroom teachers though. We can't use the funding for the regular ed classroom teachers.
Right.
That's correct. What you said is correct, Tom.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yep.
thought you, yes,
Yep.
not for
No,
regular,
well, I was
not
just-
for regular ed teachers.
Yep.
In considering my vote, I have concerns where we're expending money on a consultant that might decrease our ability to put a certified teacher in the classroom. And if I'm understanding what you're saying,
You can't use
approving
that.
this contract
No.
would not improve our ability to put another certified teacher.
That is correct.
That's
Okay.
correct, that's correct. And again, one certified teacher, as important as that is, sometimes a consultant impacts 100 teachers who then impact many more students than one teacher. But I understand your concern, but no, this is coming out of the food fund.
And this, just I think reiterating an earlier comment, is that this is in support of something we've already approved in terms of our budget for next year. So it's just-
Yeah, it's actually a grant that's, we apply for, and that would be part of it.
Any further questions? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve Visions for Learning contract for fiscal year 2012-2013.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 8B8, Vista site agreement for fiscal year 2012-2013.
Just so basically, is that what I heard you say?
Yeah.
Vista, yes, okay.
Yes.
Before one more thing about the other contract. The one that you had in front of you had an incorrect date, February 19th to the 22nd it's supposed to be. They had the 20th to the 23rd, which is actually a Saturday. So I'll give Kathy the correct one for the signature. Okay. Vista contract. Vista, it stands for Volunteers in Service to America. It's kind of like a Peace Corps in America. So it's people who are getting paid a very small stipend to kind of volunteer time. The total cost to the district is $1,750. It will be paid through the integration grant, through the one that Cheryl Curry works with. And the person that is hired would work about 10% as a tutor for the AVID program. We heard them talk about the tutorials, so this would be an extra tutor for those. They'd work about 50% of their time would be spent working with Martha Schultz at the high school, and they're working with, again, helping kids make sure that they're ready for college, working with the Carleton after-school volunteers, working with the counselors, doing some peer tutoring, training, and so on. And then about 20% will be working with the Parent Institute for Quality Education, which is a new program that the integration grant is also funding, which will be working with parents of our Somali students, parents of our Hispanic students, and English-speaking parents. The parents will be 3 different groups. And this person will also be working with that program. So again, it's from the integration grant, it's no cost to the general budget, and it's a very minimal amount, $1,750.
Any questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Vista site agreement for fiscal year 2012-2013. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are now on item 8C. No, I'm sorry, we're not. 8B, we have 2 additional items. 8B9, Faribault High School Fitness Center. Kevin, do you want to come forth and say a little bit about this?
Good evening. We had bid opening for the fitness center at the high school on May 8th. There were 8 bidders present that day, or 8 bidders giving us numbers that day. You'll see the high was $689,000 to a low, a local contractor, Metcon, at $572,000. They did give a donation amount, and we had it listed that way. They gave, between themselves and other contractors, listed $60,800 to give us a base bid amount of $511,200. Now, the Booster Club doesn't have all that money in hand at this point, so we're at the same time offering the contract. We have to offer it based on this amount. We'll do a change order to decrease it at this point, just to pull out a few items out of the contract. It's known value engineering. Pull a few items out so we can get the project started and later fill in. As you heard earlier, a $30,000 donation came in today also to help with the flooring, and that was one of the items. With that, we're looking at doing alternates A1 and A2. alternates 1 and 2 is for in-floor heat in lieu of fin tube radiation, which under this contract gave us actually a negative amount or a subtract of $900. So with all that finagling around, it was $511,000. It'll end up at $510,300 minus the $59,662, which covers at this point take flooring, signage, and blinds off the contract at $59,000 some dollars. So they issued us a check today, Mr. Sesker, for $451,000 some odd dollars.
Yes, and I quickly took it to the district office and put it in the safe.
Which leaves this with the deducts at $450,638. So I'm asking to approve a contract with Metcon for $511,200 along with alternates A1 and 2, which gives us a final contract price of $510,300. At the same time offering this contract, we'll sign a change order for value engineering those other items out to get it within the amount of money that the Booster Club gave us tonight. Then we'll work on finishing out. We can run the fitness center without these items at first, but they will raise enough money. They have made the comment, the pledge, the commitment, and that you saw tonight how excited they are to do this, and they will continue to raise the money to get the equipment into these couple other furnishings. But at least we'll get the building started, get it up and operational.
And there's more money coming in.
Yes.
Every day,
Yeah.
there's more money. And could you explain to the board on the equipment supplier?
I'm not sure the exact totals, but we've been working with Cybex out of Owatonna, and they are very excited. We did a similar thing in the Performing Arts Center at the high school with Winger Corporation. They, Winger provided a sound curtain, sound wall up in the auditorium, basically donated 100% of it as long as I put the rigging in that, and that was over 100,000, six-figure number of stuff they donated. They asked that we just let them come in and show it off as they schedule it. Same thing with Cybex. I don't know the exact dollar amounts, but they know we're doing this state-of-the-art fitness center. It's very high profile. They'd like to donate to what percentage, I'm not sure at this point. They want their equipment in real bad, so they want to make some donations to the Booster Club and get their equipment in here, and they'll give us quite a bit in return. So they're working that detail out the Booster Club. So it will be a very nice center when it's complete. Very, very nice.
And what's the construction start and end dates approximate?
Start date is shortly, right after school is out. I'm working with the city right now. We had, through some employee changes in the city government, we do have to do an amendment to this conditional use permit, so I will be attending City Hall on the 6th of June and completing our case. They've got all our paperwork in place already, but it's just the process going through there. Working on if we can actually start before then or not. We have to get permits from the city, but starting in the early June, and if weather holds and things go well, we hope to have it buttoned up and close to operational, if not operational, when school starts.
I'd also just comment, it's nice to see that a local company got the contract, as I think all the board members know, but maybe the members of the community don't know, the school district is required to take the lowest bid, so that means that there are times that we don't have a local, or often we don't have a local contractor because somebody else has underbid them, and so particularly on this project that I think all of our hearts are really close to, it's nice to see that a local contractor has stepped up and is doing the work for us. That's very exciting to me.
All our local contracts really stepped up to the plate this time and gave us really good numbers.
Any further discussion on this item? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
You know what, I'd like to do a roll call on this. Anybody object to that? Just for fun. I'm just excited to get this project going.
Have you had a dull day, kids?
Richard Olson,
Yes.
Jason Ingber,
Yes.
Deb Davis,
Yes.
Tom Casper,
Yes.
Howard Cody, yes. And it passes 5-0.
Wonderful.
Was that an enthusiastic yes, Tom?
Without trepidation. Yes. Thank you all. Thank you, Kevin. very
Thank you.
much. Next item on the agenda, 8B10. Another contract for the Jefferson Roosevelt Middle School and High School parking lots. This is again continuing on, I'm assuming, in the long line of capital upgrades we've been making in the district with the last bond that we passed. Kevin, do you wanna tell us something about it?
Yes, sir. Bids were open on May 8th for the Jefferson, Roosevelt Middle School and High School parking lot renovations. We had 3 contractors bid, BMI, James Brother Construction, BCM Construction, all local companies. With that, BMI was low bidder at $1,246,900. In the bond budget, we have just shy of 1.2 million for this project, but on a couple earlier projects, we were quite low. There is enough money in the bond proceeds to cover these projects. With that, I ask for you to approve BMI as the contractor for our parking lot projects for this summer.
What are you doing at the high school?
High school, it's the back parking lot, which is the teacher parking lot or staff parking lot out
okay.
back. Seal coating that, crack sealing, taking care of some cracks. There's a couple spots where we need to cut it out and repave, and then the rest is seal coat, chip and seal coat.
Okay.
Front parking lot was done earlier.
Well, I know, and I was
Yeah.
like, where are they? And I never go to the teachers' one.
We got a little
so-
bit out back,
Okay.
southwest side.
Perfect.
I move we accept the bid from BMI.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bid from BMI for the Jefferson, Roosevelt Middle School and High School parking lots. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, the item 8C, the enrollment report. Colleen, do you wanna?
Okay, we've got our numbers in for May, and we're very, very close to the April numbers, so 3772, we just dropped 2 students. So we're holding that nice increase from April, which is, again, I think we've talked about this, unusual for us. Typically we lose students after January and don't pick them up again, but we did pick up quite a few students in April, so that was good news. And they're hanging with us through May, so.
Excellent. All right. Any further questions about this? Hearing none, item 8C, the financial report. Any questions on that? You have the numbers in front of you. All right. Okay, moving along to item 8C3, acceptance of donations and gifts. We have 2 tonight. The Masons Faribault Lodge number 9 for $265 to the Faribault High School Math and Science programs. We also have a gift from the Minnesota Masonic Charities, again of $265 for the Faribault High School Math and Science programs. Todd, do you know anything more about these?
Yeah, it was, I went to speak at the Masons at Faribault Lodge on a Saturday a couple weeks ago, and they have some young members that are trying to organize and get that nonprofit going again. It's a good group of people that I was able to speak to, and they were kind enough to donate $265, and the Minnesota Masonic Charities matched that donation. They did a pancake breakfast in the morning, and they raised that money strictly for the high school science and math program. So thank you
Do you know
to
what that
them.
money will be used for in those programs?
I don't know if they, did you know, Joanne, have they said anything? I know, yep, but once we find that out, we'll, yeah, yeah. We'll let those representatives know what that money's being used for once we find out.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on these items? All right. Well, on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you to the Masonic organization. Faribault Public Schools certainly appreciates all the support that we've gotten from our local community, so thank you very much. We need to approve the acceptance of such gifts and donations, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve these 2 gifts. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Did you skip that?
No, I did not. Skip that. Deb has asked if I skipped over item A to C two, the financial report. The answer is no, I did not skip over that.
No.
But nobody had any questions or comments at that
Okay.
time.
It's true.
So we moved along.
I must have been reading.
Sorry. So, right now, we're on item number 9, other committee reports. The Wellness Committee met on May 8th, and you have minutes in front of you. Any questions or comments on this meeting? All right, hearing none, we will move right along. Other items, other matters. A resolution, 1209, placing the list of probationary staff on terminated status for the 2011-2012 school year. This is an action item and a resolution. Any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 1209, placing the list of probationary staff on terminated status for the 2011-2012 school year. Any further discussion? This is a resolution and requires a roll call, so.
Okay, Richard Olson,
Yeah.
Jason Ingber,
Yes.
Deb Davis,
Yes.
Tom Casper,
Yes.
and I, Howard Bodie, vote yes, and it passes 5-0.
Excellent. Other items of information, item number 11. We have a student representative here tonight again with us. Thank you for coming again and joining us through this meeting. Do you have a report for us that you'd like to share?
Yes, approximately 3 weeks ago on the 4th of May, we held Big Nine, and it was quite a success. I'm in Philharmonic Orchestra, and the judge for our division, came and congratulated Brianne Wassink, who is our constructor, about how well we put it together, and we have received many gifts from different schools thanking us for how well we put it together. So that was a great success. Elections took place 2 weeks ago for our next year's student council cabinet. Our senior class president is Laura Mullinex. Our student council president is Ashley Weinkoff. Vice president is Tiffany Leroy. Secretary is Tanner Tuzinat, and treasurer is Rianne Bond. We are very excited to have those. They all got inaugurated on last Wednesday. The April 23rd, that weekend, I went down to state at Century High School in Rochester with 2 other of my fellow student council cabinet members, and we went, and it was a whole convention full of mixed with National Honor Society and Student Government of Minnesota, and we all came up with amazing ideas for next year, so I'm really excited to bring those to the table next year. We had some wonderful speakers, and it was just very inspirational for ideas for next year. And next, pretty much, we're just really excited for next year. We're wrapping it up, finishing off some end of the year stuff with our National Honor Society, because we are teaming up for our 8th grade farewell party and introduction to the high school, so we're pretty excited for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Sophia. Any questions for Sophia?
How did the prom go this year?
Prom went amazing. We're very happy. Melissa Henning put it together, our senior class president this year. People are still talking about it. It was a night to remember, as a lot of them are quoting from last year's.
Excellent.
And was the cost, let's see, last year we had a conversation about the cost.
There were not as many attendees as there was last year, but the people who did attend said that it was worth the price.
And you went to the same place or a different place?
Same place,
Same
Valentino's,
place,
yep.
Valentino's.
Yep.
Do you know how much the numbers changed, Sophia?
I think it was about $20 difference. I know that the singles went up about 30, I believe, because of, we decided to do a different kind of coach busing this year, so.
Excellent.
plans are in place or moving forward for next year's?
Yes, I'm excited. Laura Mullinex has great ideas, who's just elected for our senior class president.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sophia? Great, thank you, Sophia. Other items of information from school board members? Excellent. And from our esteemed superintendent,
Giving you all these accolades, that's great, thank you. Quite a few meetings. The couple of the meetings that stand out, the FAIR, F-A-I-R-E, and again, I can't remember what that stands for. It's our group that meets with the diversity group in town, mainly the Somali and Hispanic communities. And we have now moved into our next phase, which is to do some planning and goal setting. And that group, there's probably 13, 14 of us that are in that group that represent all the different nonprofits within, not all of them, but the majority of the nonprofits in the community. Then also the city is represented there. So it's a nice group of people that we're trying to figure out some resolutions that come up. One of those ideas that have come up is something that Richard's talked about a lot, and that is a sort of welcome center, multicultural center, whatever you want to call that. We're trying to get to that phase, but we're now at the asset mapping stage, and we're going to do our asset mapping in order to narrow down what the focus of this committee thinks they should be. And I try to stay out of it as much as I can because I want it to be their idea and not just mine alone. So the next time around, we'll finish the asset mapping and do some goal setting for our community. This also involves probably 4 or 5 representatives from the Somali community too. So it's been a very positive piece. I know that the mayor is also setting up a task force, which I'm looking forward to moving ahead with, and we have not set a date with that, but that will be coming too. So a lot of good things from a lot of good people that are trying to help out some of the cultural issues that we have within our community. I also have been attending our Faribault Futures class. I only have one class left, and then I graduate from Faribault Futures, so that'll be fun. Our project this year for the Faribault Futures is a healing garden up at the hospital. If you get a chance to see that, it's right off of that northwest side of the hospital, and we actually had to remove sod and dig 4 inches below that, and it had just rained a couple of days before, and I think one of our guys threw their back out, and I was really, really tired the next day. But it's been a good project, and we've had some very, very good work with the group with the Faribault Futures, and Barb and Jill and Brian Knudsen and that group from South Central College. Has really been a great thing. It's been a very good experience for me. I'm looking forward to the graduation day. So I'm a big advocate of Faribault Futures, so if we have another person that may be in mind, I would really be very much in favor of suggestions of sending somebody from the school district again next year through that class. And the experience and leadership is very valuable for them and for me. I was also at our PDS celebration from Minnesota State University Mankato. We do our professional development schools programs with them. Some of the programs that we work with are the AVID program. We're very much using Mankato as the research basis for a lot of these programs. Our staff doesn't have a lot of time to do the research. We do the best we can with Joanne and Cheryl and I, but that you have that university access to some of that research, it's invaluable. And we also have done the literacy coaches through that program, and then the fellow program at Roosevelt and at the middle school. Pam Kennedy is one of the fellow programs where she does the mentor program and coordinates that, and then also Kirsten Hutchinson, who we're going to lose this year. She's taking a job as a principal in what town? Comfrey, Minnesota. So she's going to be a K-12 principal, I believe, right? So small community. So we will miss her, but she's done a great job too. District retirement, attended that, and Jason was there. Were there any other board members at that? I think it was, and Howard was there, that's right. And Tom, yeah, that's right. Tom, yeah, thank you. Thank you all for attending that. That was done very well. thanks to Jenny Yank, who helped put that piece on, in the Faribault Education Association. Our own Mr. Bourne was there as the MC for that program, and I appreciate everything he did to recognize all those folks that were retiring from Faribault schools this year. Finally, I was in Ely last week, Thursday. Does Thursday ring a bell? Thursday was the forest fire that was going through that area, and we drove right through it. So that was an interesting ordeal. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what the firefighters do up there and the equipment they use to put out that thing, because it was really dry and the winds were gusting up to 35 miles an hour, and it was not a very good situation. They evacuated southeast side of town. I was okay. We were far enough away in one of our cabins. The other cabin had to be evacuated, but we were fine, and they were able to put the fire out and contain it in a couple of days. So, but a lot of action up in Ely when I got up there. And other than that, it's been a busy couple weeks.
Thank you, Todd. Questions or comments for Todd on any of that?
Todd, how soon are you planning on doing focus groups?
Oh, I had one other thing too. I'm sorry. Focus groups we've already started on. I actually emailed you, Jason, for 3 focus groups we have set up. Thanks to Kathy for doing this. It's really hard to get a lot of people together in this amount of time. So we've got 3 already to go with business, education, and mainly the private sector, private schools in the Shattuck and South Central, and the retired folks,
Seniors.
right? One other report I wanted to do to get this to you. We wanted to start our teacher evaluation summary, and this is, I know that you've been asking about this. So we're going to start hitting this pretty hard. I did want to give you an update because I know that you have been asking about it. There's a statute on the books right now that we need to have in place, a teacher evaluation system. And we don't have to go into too much detail. You can ask some questions. I'll probably ask Nicole to help out a little bit too, because she's done a lot of research on this as well. But we're trying to follow the statute. We're working with the staff, the Faribault Education Association, in order to create an evaluation system that my goal is, just so you know, is I want to be able to evaluate all staff on a 3-year cycle. That's the end goal for me. We'll see if we get there, but we have to figure out how to get there too, and then also productively use our staff to help. There are a lot of different things within the law that we have to make sure that we abide by with this particular evaluation system. I would say it's not your traditional evaluation system that we're required to do. So it's going to take a lot of research. One piece of it that's really unique in Minnesota, I don't even know if other states have this or not, is that we have to include, and Tom, you're going to love this, we have to include as 35% of their evaluation, it's based on test scores. So how we're going to do that, we don't know, and we need feedback from everybody in order to do that. So that's going to be our major piece that we need to figure out. We've met with our Faribault Education Association already. They're setting up some teams, and we're just going to keep on plugging away till we get something in place. We don't have to have this in place until 2014-15 school year. But there's a lot of different pieces of the law that we have to implement. The other piece that's unique is that we normally will get some direction from the Minnesota Department of Education, and so far they haven't been able to give us, I don't know if you've heard anything, Joanne, but or Nicole, we haven't really received any sort of direction at all from the task force that was supposed to be set up to tell how we can figure this out. We can probably develop a system to evaluate math, social studies, science, and some of those others I would call standard-based systems, but the challenge is going to be how are you going to base physical education, music, the arts, and some of those other areas of education on a 35% test measurement. So I don't know if you have if I could do it, I would love to have a student that runs a 100-yard dash in or 100-meter dash in 11 flat, and then tell them that they have to improve till 9.5 seconds, and then they'll be an Olympic champion. But those are some of the issues. I'm being a little bit facetious, sorry, but maybe Tom likes that. But there's some really, really big roadblocks that are in there that are going to make it very, very difficult for us to measure. But we'll get through it, and we'll come up with a system that makes sense for everybody. So.
Thank you for acknowledging my concern about test scores. Several weeks ago, I attended level 3 and level 4 MSBA board training, and as part of level 4, there's an activity that entitled "What Counts? Signs of School Quality Checklist," and we have about 48 different categories to choose from. And in that class, which I shared with 45 other board members, we did establish what we thought was some consensus about indicators of a quality school system, and I take note that test results did not make any progress on that list whatsoever.
Todd, when do you think we'll have this evaluation in place?
You know, my goal would be to have it, we'll still do the traditional evaluation, and I would like to get with the traditional evaluations at least this coming year to start with that 1/3 piece. I brought it to the principals. We just haven't figured out logistically how the principals are going to do it. But I'd actually like to start doing it this fall. Now, the new evaluation system, I hope that will be a process that we'll have to utilize with the union in order to make those changes. But I'd really like to get that evaluation rotation for on that 3-year cycle starting this fall. That's my goal. So I don't know how the principals agree with that or not, but it's pretty aggressive. But I think we can do it.
Excellent. That's good news. Other questions or comments for Todd? All right. Hearing none, last item on the agenda, some dates to remember. The most exciting, of course, is that on June 3rd at 2 o'clock at the high school will be the high school graduation. So I suspect all the board members, or almost all the board members, will be there. We're all very excited for that. Less exciting on June 11th at 7:30, the Finance Committee meeting on June 11th at 6:30 will be a special school board meeting at the City Hall Council Chambers. June 12th at 6 o'clock will be a policy meeting at the district office, and on June 18th at 6:30 will be the regular board meeting back here in City Hall. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.